Forrest Gump has one major blooper most fans overlooked. An American classic was created in 1994. Forrest Gump was directed by Robert Lee Zemeckis and is based on Winston Groom's book. Tom Hanks played the lead, and he delivered one of his greatest performances to date. The film was praised by reviewers and audiences alike for being both emotional and hilarious, and it did remarkably well at the box office. Here are some facts about this all-time favorite classic that you may not have known. Forrest's famous accent. Everyone enjoyed Forrest Gump's unusual accent in the film. It gave the character a unique appeal. Tom Hanks' co-star Michael Connor Humphrey, who portrayed young Forrest, had that accent, which Hanks grew to admire. So they decided that Forrest Gump should talk with it as well. Michael Connor Humphrey won a lot of praise for this film, including the Young Artist Award. Forrest Gump's mother. As Forrest Gump's loving mother, Sally Field delivered outstanding performance. Although her character seemed to be somewhat elderly in the film, Sally Field was really only over a decade older than Tom Hanks when she played the part. Hippie scene. The filmmaker wanted a lot of hippie-looking folks with haircuts, symbolizing that time and fashion that were long gone. For the hippie segment in the film, the smart geniuses behind the film chose to shoot the sequence in the most dazzling manner possible. Instead of hiring a large number of extras, dressing them up as hippies, the actors went to the Maryland Renaissance Festival and performed the scene there. Run, Forrest, run! In the film, Tom Hanks performed most of the running. He did, in fact, run a lot. The filmmaker, however, employed Tom Hanks' younger brother, Jim, who was quite a runner, for the long-distance run shot. When brothers looked similar, the filmmaker doesn't have to hunt for a movie double for Tom. The speech, a significant scene. Forrest Gump was a film with many memorable sequences. One of them was Forrest Gump's renowned speech in front of an anti-war crowd in Washington, D.C. Of course, we couldn't hear his statement because the microphone plug was yanked, but it did happen, and Forrest stated, "Sometimes when people go to Vietnam, they come home to their mothers without any legs. They don't always return home. That's not a good thing." That's all I've got to say about that. Photos of Forrest. Tom Hanks was always so meticulous with details that if you look attentively at every image Forrest snapped in the film, his eyes remain closed. Given that Tom Hanks is much too skilled to make such an error, we can only believe that it was done on purpose. Forrest Gump's house. Forrest Gump grew up in an ancient plantation-style home custom-built for the film. The home was constructed so hastily and incorrectly that it had to be razed shortly after the filming ended. The home was originally situated just outside of Varnville, South Carolina. The city of Greenbow, from where Forrest is originally from, does not exist. Bubba Gump restaurants. Bubba, one of Forrest Gump's wartime buddies, aspired to be the king of the shrimp industry. Unfortunately, he died during the Vietnam War, but Forrest Gump went on to fulfill Bubba's desire in his memory. In reality, Bubba Gump Shrimp Company operates locations all over the United States and the globe. The renowned restaurant may be found in China, Japan, Mexico, and Malaysia. And in front of each of them is a bench with Forrest's bag on it and his sneakers below the bench. The surprising truth is that this restaurant chain did not exist prior to the release of the film. A real deal. During the Vietnam War, Gary Sinise portrayed Lieutenant Dan, who oversaw a platoon of troops that included Forrest and Bubba. Gary, as Dan, is shown in the film wearing a St. Christopher medal with the wording "Protect Us in Combat." That medal belonged to Gary Sinise's brother-in-law, who wore it throughout his Vietnam War service. Real footage. In the film, genuine footage from 1968 is utilized for a ceremony in which Forrest Gump meets Lyndon B. Johnson to receive his Medal of Honor. Forrest's head was digitally overlaid on Sammy L. Davis's torso, who did, in fact, get this honor for his service in Vietnam. This provided the impression that Forrest was truly standing next to President Lyndon Johnson. Bubbas Lip. Bubba, Forrest Gump's military comrade, was masterfully played by actor McKelty Williamson. Bubba's distinguishing feature was undoubtedly his bottom lip. His protruding lip was, of course, a prosthesis that had been meticulously fitted to seem as natural as possible. And it was a huge hit since many people were astonished to see McKelty Williamson without it after the film was released in theaters. War scenes. The Vietnam War sequences were really shot on Fripp Island, which is located just off the coast of South Carolina. Of course, computer-generated imagery, or CGI, did its magic to recreate the muddy ground, boisterous forest, and reedy wetlands. Slip through his fingers. The screenplay for Forrest Gump was not simply given to Tom Hanks. Chevy Chase, Bill Murray, and even John Travolta were among the other actors. Fortunately for Hanks, they all refused, and the part awaited the right actor. Even now, John Travolta confesses that he regrets passing up on the part of Forrest Gump. Lieutenant Dan. Lieutenant Dan, portrayed by Gary Sinise, was a tough yet sensitive character who played an essential role in the film. Lieutenant Dan's war-related injuries have to seem genuine. Because Hollywood did not have the advanced special effects that it has now in 1994, the digital team had Gary wear a blue cloth that perfectly disguised his lower legs, creating the needed convincing appearance. Oops, Robin Wright. Jenny dresses in a white gown as she pays a visit to Forrest at his home. Jenny gets soaked since the weather changes from sunny to rainy. However, when the camera shifts between Forrest and Jenny, an apparent error occurs. Her dress turns from wet to dry to wet again. Because of this intricacy of the scenes and the editing process, such mistakes might occur in filmmaking.